Okay, first order of business, under public comment will be the Victoria Landings HOA changes. Followed by regular public comment. The attorney was there, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes. Is this a good place to address everybody? Okay. So my name is Joseph Walsh. I'm with law firm Walsh Schwartz LLP in Saratoga. I represent the board of the homeowners association. I have had the opportunity to review the public comment during the July and August board meetings. Could not hear everything, and the word recognition of the closed caption left something to be desired too. I got the general gist of the comments. I did provide a letter through Mr. Peterson and the mayor this afternoon, just raising some of the issues which we hope the board will seriously consider. Everybody has the best interests of the community and the association at heart, I realize that. But there are certain things that with a group of 80 owners, we're not going to have 80 owners in agreement all the time. It's impossible. But that's the nature of a democracy. In this case, the board has undertaken its internal procedures to amend the declaration in particular, not the bylaws. Bylaws are not impacted here by those amendments. And the board is trying to fix things that were left in some degree of disorder or chaos by the original development. Put yourself in the position of the original developer, spent a ton of money developing the land, getting the approvals, paying fees to the village. What do they want to do? They want to build and sell as quickly as they can. So I understand that, I get that. But while that period of sponsored developer control of the board, there's not necessarily there's an internal conflict of interest. The developer controls the board, is supposed to be acting in the best interest of the association, not just in the best interest of the sponsor. I haven't seen anything by way of owners who supposedly got permission from the developer. I haven't seen anything as far as owners who've applied for permission from the architectural committee. If those things exist, it would be wonderful to see them. But at the end of the day, what controls are the governing documents and the declaration. The starting point on this, and sir, you in July tried to characterize statements I made in response, I believe, to your question in June.
Please direct your comments to the board.
Okay. So a member of the association at public comment in July basically attributed certain statements that I made in an open meeting of the association. I don't want to belabor it, but they were taken completely out of context. I said, if I were buying a unit, a townhome, I would be cognizant of what I'm getting. I'm buying a townhome with a very constricted lot. If that's my choice of living, fine, I'll buy it. If I want to do anything else or I want a larger lot, I think I have to go to a development which sells attached homes. So I can do something on my lot with limited oversight by an association. That was the context of those statements I made to our association members. And so I did take issue with those comments, and I did want to correct that by way of my comments to this board. At the end of the day, we have amendments which were approved, and again, this is a democracy. Our association is a democracy, it's governed by majority rule. These amendments were prepared and provided to the membership. They were given to, I believe, the village back in June. And they were voted on this past July, right? Yeah, end of July. And there's nothing back from the village at that time. 62.5% of the entire membership voted to approve these amendments. I think that is a very compelling majority percentage. And we would hope that the board would recognize that the majority has spoken here. And under PHOA governing documents, this is how things work. When things have to be amended, it requires a vote of the unit owners. That occurred. And the nature of these changes, we're talking about something that unit owners never acquired as far as legal rights to begin with, right? They bought a lot, they have a survey showing the house as built on their lot, the perimeter limitations of their lot, plus the 10-foot easement language that was in the original declaration to permit patios or decks. Okay, that was the extent of owners' rights. And those rights to do anything to the exterior of the home site or their house required them to go and seek architectural committee approval, which in most cases I think has been done. So that is the framework within which everyone who bought a unit is basically governed by and agreed as a matter of concept to follow, as a matter of contract, excuse me, to follow. We've tried, your board has tried, or the association board has tried to basically allow people who have done things supposedly with the consent of the original developer, but otherwise not permitted, to allow them to continue what they were doing, okay? Keeping in mind that they had no property rights whatsoever in the association property, other than easements to use and enjoy it, walk across it, etc. So the board, and I guess no good deed goes unpunished, that was the purpose of these proposed amendments. I assisted the board in trying to develop these concepts to make them clear, but the concept here was this is association property. All members have an equal right to access that association property. The concept was, let's provide for a licensing concept. By definition, a license is permission. Okay, it is permission that can be revoked at any time, unlike your easement right, your 12-foot easement right in the back of your homes to install a deck or patio. Okay, so those were the concepts that was felt to be a good approach to this, to legitimize what was there. But also make it clear that, look, if you want to do something on the association property and you get permission, understand that if somebody gets hurt because of what you as the owner did, the association is going to be looking to you to basically indemnify the association, assuming that is the sole cause of the injury, okay? If there's a contributing factor with the condition of the land, that's a different story entirely. There was a provision in the original declaration where homeowners had to insure the HOA as an additional insured. I think there were some problems with some owners having their insurers be willing to write that additional insured coverage. The other problem is an administrative one with 80 homes, trying to keep track of policies every year. It's a nightmare. So for the association there. So one of the amendment provisions provided, look, you no longer have to name the association as an additional insured. You have to carry your owner's insurance. And that simplified things for everyone. But if you want to use someone else's property, in this case, the association, and basically have some control over it, you have to take that corresponding responsibility, which is, hey, if something happens as a result of your actions, you're going to be primarily liable for it, even if the declaration amendments do not say that. Under common law, there would still be an indemnification right in the association, regardless of what is said in the governing documents. This spells it out. It makes it clear. If you want to do that, ask for the license, but understand there are conditions attached to the license. That's all it was. And we would ask the board to respect the limits between the village's zoning powers, which we're all subject to, and apply regardless of any changes to the declaration. If people want licenses, they still have to apply for and comply with every other requirement under the zoning ordinance. So the village is protected there. One last comment. I've been doing this association law for 40 years. I've been a municipal town attorney since 1987 for the same municipality. I'm generally familiar with these concepts. I've seen hundreds of offering plans. I drafted a number of them. I had never ever seen an offering plan where the municipality has elected to insert itself into the not-for-profit private corporation entity as a member. And you put limits on your membership, but you also created, without qualification or limitation, the right to approve amendments. Actually, your local law says the offering plan or the bylaws. The offering plan has not been in existence for 4 years. After the last unit was sold by the developer, the offering plan disappears basically. It is put in the declaration provisions that the village has to approve. So we're not arguing with that. But we don't have a problem with it, provided the amendments that the village is reviewing have some direct impact negatively or contrary to the PDD conditions of approval. You wouldn't need to be a member anyway or have that right to approve. Under your existing powers of enforcement, you could just come in, the property owner is the association, and all the powers that come to be would bear down on the association by virtue of the enforcement powers under the village law already. So my point is, you really don't need this. I know there is a lot of valid, appropriate concern about the rights of the individual owners, but the owners have rights, okay? Nothing is being taken away from them as far as existing property rights. And if they think something is not right, they can always bring a declaratory judgment action on Article 78 within the appropriate statute language and let the courts decide. So I understand some people are upset about this. July meeting, I think there might have been 5, maybe 6 owners who obviously voted against the amendments, came and spoke. The other 50 who voted in favor didn't bother to show up, other than the board members, to explain what was going on and why. And the same thing, I think, in the August meeting, a handful, mostly the same people, showed up again to say, oh, this is unfair to us. It really isn't, all right? They have safeguards, and if they want to expand their landscape onto association property, they have to be willing to comply with reasonable conditions and provisions. And that's all we're asking is for the board to basically recognize these amendments really have nothing to do with your planned development district legislation or your zoning powers where you go to regulate height, size of buildings, use of buildings, open space, etc. Totally unrelated. This is entirely the internal affairs of private corporation, and the village should respect those rights, subject to its ability to know what's going on. And if something were to be proposed that did impact the zoning approvals, fine, I have no issue. The village saying, we don't like this because, but for the reasons that I heard in July public comment and August comments, I think the village should be willing to say, look, it's really an internal matter. You had your chance to lobby the association. The majority has clearly spoken on this. End of story. Thank you very much for your time.
You, in your previous emails from September 5th, you basically said we were second guessing what's going on and discussing the propriety and legality of the village's opinions about them. So are you now saying that we do have the right to, from what I inferred from your emails, that we have no business sticking our beak in?
No,
That's what it sounded, that's what it came across as.
okay, and I apologize if the tone came across, but what I'm trying to do as politically as possible, and I'm not I won't tell you guys, good, because there are certain things that I have no issue with for the reasons I mentioned. If the board or the association does something which basically is in direct conflict with or threatens the requirements and conditions of approval that were set forth in the PDD legislation. You know, again, you don't have to, as soon as you learn about it, you would have the right to basically compel the association to correct it under your existing zoning powers. My only comment was, look, you really want to get embroiled in the internal affairs of the association with this level, there was really no need to do that. It was done, and we're not contesting that, we just want a reasonable restriction or understanding and appreciation of, look, if it relates to our zoning powers or the PDD, then fine, we have a right, and as a matter of contract, I guess, I'm not contesting that right for the board to know what's going on and to weigh in. But on something like this, where you're just worried about, oh, there's no appeals process or grievance process, honestly, I don't think the board should involve itself at that.
Is that your opinion, or do you believe, you mentioned Article 78?
Yeah.
Toward the end of this, so, to me, that's an implied threat that there will be Article 78, which is fine, we've had it before.
I mean, look,
Not a big deal.
we're here to
But it's
cooperate.
your opinion that we don't have the authority.
I think your authority has a limit, okay? And I think in this case, we're coming dangerously close to that limit for the comments and reasons that were at least voiced, not necessarily abilities in the board's opinion, at the July and August comments. We don't want to fight with the village, we don't want to fight with our membership, but it's pretty clear, we're never going to please 80 million dollars. We're doing very well when we please 62.5%. Okay. So no threats are intended, but obviously that is a right that the association and actually any owner, I suppose, could take issue with for whatever reason. And I think my legal opinion is the comments about, you know, perhaps you really need to keep your powers of approval in context with your other powers.
And I have a couple of questions that maybe I'll direct them at our attorney too. First of all, just for clarifying my memory, when was the vote taken by the HOA to approve?
July 25th.
July 25th. I think, and again, my memory is a little faulty sometimes. I think the first time we were made aware of this as a board was at the July meeting and had never had any legislation circulated to me, certainly as a board member. I never received anything until August 18th.
3 copies were delivered to the.
Okay, I never received anything.
I'm sorry, I brought it to the mayor's office, we even met with Gary and Peter Sheridan.
So August 18th was the first I was made aware of it, which was about 3 weeks after the vote was already made. And so at the August board meeting, I had only just received the legislation. And so the questions that I made at the time to the HOA board were after the vote had already been made. And had I been made aware of it, and whether that's the fault of the HOA board, whether it's the fault of the lack of communication with the village board, I certainly would have provided input prior to the vote being made, specifically around grievance process. It sounds to me like what the gentleman here is saying is that it's an unusual arrangement the village has with the HOA, which is that we do have authority to approve or disapprove of legislation. Am I correct in that understanding, Tom?
We do, and I do not believe that we were involved in the drafting of the offering plea.
Right. So I think that leaves us at a little bit of an impasse, because I think the feeling of the residents, many residents, although I granted 62% of them did vote in favor of it, was that they had a gun held to their head when they did vote for it, which was essentially you either tear up the stuff or you vote for this legislation. And our job as a village board is to represent all of the residents of the village, not just some of the residents of the village, not just the residents of the village core, but the residents of all of the village around Lake, and the issue is that clearly there was a lack of communication here. Clearly, the village was not able to provide its input, guidance, or suggestions to represent the entire village around Lake, and now we're at this situation where we're now making suggestions after the vote has been made, and to your point, that's problematic, right?
I would like to say one thing. if
I just would like the attorney to speak first, though.
So first of all, there was also public comment period from the board. 20 days before. Or not 20 days, July 17th, whatever,
Now, when you say the board.
HOA board.
HOA board,
village.
you need a 20-day comment.
What was the date of July?
This is July 16th or
And the vote was the 25th.
July 16th.
So, and I believe, someone asked for a copy. of the
I did.
minutes,
It was me.
And somebody promised to get them to you the very
I did
next.
not receive them.
Well, who's fault is that?
I don't know.
Certainly not.
I did not get them until August 18th,
Okay.
after the vote was made.
These are.
Did anybody else, Jason, did you receive them? Eric, did you receive them? The mayor may have received them, but the entire village board is, it provides, should be providing input on these things. A lot of times when these things are made, the entire village board, I mean, all of our email addresses are available on the village website. This is something that I think is important. Being that it affects a large number of residents within the village, and something as important as this, I think should have been communicated far in advance. Certainly, the original time we were told about it was a week before the vote, which is not really. When was the village made aware of, other than the July 16th board meeting, which is the very first time I heard about it? When was the first time the village was made aware?
First time that we brought out the document down that was marked up with the changes was in June. We dropped it off at the village clerk's office. Then we had a meeting, that was in June. Then we had a PowerPoint meeting for our HOA people up in Victoria Landings, where the whole committee was invited to come, and we went through step by step. This
Yeah.
was never correct. This was to get everybody in compliance with what the declaration.
Oh, I understand your point of view. I'm saying that many residents expressed that they did feel threatened,
Not many,
including it.
not many,
I heard one, maybe two.
not many,
Well,
okay,
we,
asked,
okay. We did.
So I'm sorry, finish your comment.
So the
Yes.
next time we met, Paula and I came down to the village, we met with Gary and Peter Sheridan. They very nicely, we gave them both copies of the formalized amendment as well as the marked up copy. They told us that they run into this all the time in the village, they have to have things ripped up, fences, garages, whatever, and people put up illegally and take it down. We gave it to them, we figured it would be distributed. I was not aware that it had to go to each and every board member. At our board meetings, if we have something to be distributed, and one person gets it, we give it to all the members, we don't email them.
Yeah,
But anyway, that's, I apologize for that.
Forward.
We understand, absolutely.
and I think that was an opportunity. So I think maybe you can understand my perspective now as somebody who had heard about it a week prior to it, didn't receive a document until after the legislation had passed. And then at a board meeting, I'm asked to vote on something that I had just received 2 days prior without understanding the context of it. Hopefully you can understand where
understand.
that occurred,
I
okay?
understand.
All right.
Final copy we gave out, we brought it again down to the office, it was supposed to be given to Mr. Peterson and to Gary. And we left that, and that was the formalized, the final edit of it.
And so hopefully you can understand as well, based on the questions that I was asking and other board members were asking, it was more about seeking to understand what this legislation that we were being asked to vote on was actually about, seeing as we had only received it shortly prior to, and it had already been approved. And now, in many ways, we felt like, sir, I'll speak for myself. I felt like I was being held over a barrel to approve legislation. I'm not going to sign off on something I don't fully understand the implications of.
The point is well taken.
Okay.
In the village, the HOA board, we can
We should communicate a little bit better.
We can make sure that there's not gonna be any issue in the future. You're a member association. Basically the village, and I believe, I don't think there's any designated individual.
There is, we have a B member
Yes, but is
from
it
the village.
from the village a named individual?
Yes.
Okay, and that person still
Yeah, Peter Sheridan is the B member of.
I didn't, I got a copy of it, wasn't told to distribute it, I got a copy, I had commented on, I did a stormwater for both. I made some comments on decks and stormwater runoff, retaining walls and things like that. And I gave it to, I think, Paul, that was my comments in the, yeah.
So my suggestion going forward would be for important things like this, because this was important, it was contentious. You can argue that it's not important, a lot of people felt it was important. Then it would make a lot more sense to communicate more broadly perhaps, or whatever, I don't know what the mechanism is, but seems to be what the impasse was.
Based on your comments and concerns. This board, and I think it warrants some kind of written memorization of this concern. And formalizing exactly, if we drop something off at the village, it should be with please distribute this immediately to the entire village board.
Absolutely,
It's-
thank you, that's all I had.
Thomas, did you have any comments?
I do not.
So. But I still feel like there ought to be some sort of field process. Yeah, okay, let's go through the rest of the public comment first. Public comment. Mr. Rotundi.
Yes, since I was mentioned, I have a prepared statement to read, but first of all, to our HOA attorney,
Remember to.
and I'm addressing it to you, that I can assure you, this comments at that time were twice repeated, that he would not vote for that amendment twice. And there's a number of people here that will attest to that. So I want to clear that up. I was not misleading anything. That's number one. And secondly, we as a board, when you only have maybe 10, 12 people show up at this discussion of the amendment, we felt important, we told our board, you should have another meeting to get more people here so they can fully understand the ramification of this amendment. No, they rushed it through. And you could probably see the reaction why it had to be, it was quickly done. And didn't take the time to give a proper understanding of the pros and cons of the amendment. I'm okay with the amendment in certain regards. But the issue was, they claim now that, okay, like our attorney has stated, they had some 60-some votes. Yes, 60-some votes, because half of them I spoke to and said, I have to vote yes, because I'm not tearing down my trees and my vegetation. And they had repeated emails in that period stating as such from the board, but not one email stating, come on over and let's get the facts. But they would repeatedly, we were bombarded what the no vote would mean to them. Yes, they were scared. I personally wasn't scared because it didn't affect me much. But to me, it's important to do the things in the right manner. So let's clear that up first. Okay, now I'd like to proceed, and I'll start that. My name is Ben Rotundi, and live at 16 Feldman Loop. And if you don't mind, I will not stand up. Okay, then I want to read this prepared statement. And I think hopefully it will help clear a few other things up as well. Good evening, Mayor. Putman and fellow board members of the trustees board. As a board, you will have Victoria landing issues on the amendment change for your consideration tonight. I would hope all agree that before accepting any change to the documents, that we should make sure we have a grievance committee in place with the amendment change. In doing so, it protects all homeowners now and the future. I mean, the whole future, down to whatever, as long as there is a Victoria landing. Homeowners from a board going in thing is, we're concerned that if a board, HOA board in the future, either now or the future, 10 years from now, go into a drastic path. And without any checks and balances, what are we to do? At that point, if we do not get this in place, all homeowners will forever be at risk with no resource other than hiring an attorney. I cannot see how anyone could be against adding this grievance policy to change our proposed amendment. As Vinnie Putman smartly stated in the last board meeting, how can any homeowner have any recourse in a dispute of reprisal? And let's talk about that reprisal. I'm a former example of a reprisal. We'll get to that. It's in a minute with the art situation. Okay? The amendment does not provide it, doesn't provide any way of a homeowner that might be in dispute with the board and coming to a natural solution without spending a lot of money on either part. But even worse than that, not only affects us now, but it can take place in 5 years, 10 years, 40 years in the future. Remember, we never know what the future HOA boards can do. If our forefathers say in their wisdom to think for the following generations, why shouldn't we? I cannot see why our own board would not agree, as they will be on the other side of the fence at some point in time. Support is needed by all. If this is not the course of action, then I would suggest that what I'm saying, if this is not the way you want to go, then I would suggest to our board and to our trustees. Our HOA documents state that an amendment change needs to be approved by the village of Round Lake Board of Trustees by resolution. If this is not wanted or used, it will have to go before the Victoria landing owners for the change. So that, and we don't hear anything of that. If they're changing this or that because they're trying to make it more perfect, then change, you have to include that someplace. If you go, if it is not valid. Homeowners will vote for removed from our documents. In that event, the amended change should be able until a proper course of action can be obtained before any action should be pursued. So my point is, a lot of people, we can accept what they're doing. And personally, I'll speak for me. But not without the checks and balances in place. And I'm not doing it for me, because I'm not gonna be around. But it's for the other owners. I mean, what's the point if We have to go to an attorney and spend thousands of dollars on each side for a crazy dispute? But that, look, make a puzzle, put it right, that's just a grievance committee. Will help eliminate any of these things. And now, when I talked about reprising, I'm one that's been used as a reprisal. Oh, I at least believe it. I'm not saying they did it or they didn't, but the only thing I can tell you. First, on July 23rd, that was the time we discussed. There was a discussion for the amendment that we reported. And only a few of us, and that's when Attorney Watts was referring to. Okay, in discussing amendment. After the meeting, I was speaking with two of the board members, and I can put their names on. Okay, but they don't care. And I was asked if I would want to join the party. But he is right. The reason I was on ARC for 2-3 years, or thereabouts, the king of the night. Exactly. But I elected to quit because Attorney Walsh was correct. Nobody knows nothing. I asked for certain documents. Now, literally, I'm approving something, and then I would go to the head individual that is leading the committee to get. I wanted to see the insurance, I wanted to see the approved drawings, I wanted to see that it went to the board and they don't hate it, and he never provided it to me. I go, so, if I'm on the art committee and I'm responsible, I want to see the paperwork. No. I never received it, not one. And all of the ones I worked with. So he's like, why don't they have a record? Ask our HOA. That's just uncalled for. And when you have a park member asking to see that the insurance was turned in and these things were all in order. Because you're using me as a scapegoat, but who gets blamed if something goes wrong? Oh, you proved it. I have no proof. I even seen the doctor. I never seen one. And on many retreats, so so don't blame that all of a sudden they just disappeared. That was well known because I explained it to them. Why? I could not get any documentation of anything that we did, other than the application. I got the application, had it approved, and that's the last myself. Then when they were complete, I go, well, did the board see this? Did they approve it on the board? But not one time did I get it from the park head. Wait a minute, that was part of the board. And first of all, a board member should not be on the park committee. That's a conflict. Because it goes to them for voting. That's wrong. And then secondly, now it goes down to architectural committee, see if on August 25th, I get a letter. And after the board meeting, they asked if I'd like to be on the board. I said, yes, I would, since there's been some changes. Okay,
HOA board or?
HOA board asked me. And I said, yes, I wouldn't mind doing it at all. Because I thought the influence I had with somebody else was possibly the reason I wasn't seen when they needed us. I don't know. But then on the 25th of August, homeowners survey committee, they put out a request for people to join our committee. I already had sent in my application, my qualification to them 3-4 weeks before that even came out. So when I saw that again, I again put it up. And I referred to our meeting and my application that I put in, that I would be happy to be on the park committee and to refer to my qualifications. And in our correspondences, other times I've asked repeatedly, what are the qualifications of the people you have now? We still don't know. They haven't given it to us. They just selected from their pet peeve individuals. That's my personal feeling, I'm not saying it is. Okay. Now, 10 days later, 9 days later, I get an email, September 5th, and Mitch Fiani. He, a week or 2 or 3 before that, wanted to be on the park committee as well.
Hey, Ben, these are kind of.
Yeah, I know. This, I am.
I'm not going
Yeah,
to for review.
Mr. Mayor, yes. But in either case, of that date, they now send out that. No, you're not needed, thanks, but no thanks, and so what does that tell you? What does that make me feel like? It makes me feel like they didn't want me because I had different opinions. And that's what they should have.
In terms of how the village, so your request is that you're asking the village board to have, our original comment, which is a rapid this process, that's kind of. Everything else is kind of related. Okay.
Yeah, this is related to HOA four, but I'm talking about, you know,
But in terms of the village,
can get. The board has control of the people and they can actually make it hard. Or worse for them by being vindictive. And that's all I'm saying, that's why the grievance committee is a must. Thank you.
Mr. Rotundi. Yeah. Or Mr.
Gentleman in the back.
Yeah, my name is Alvaro Gil, 67 Octavia. I got express.
Didn't have the.
Go ahead, so.
Yeah, I got express.
Put it in the floor again.
I'm gonna express the same what I shared the day of the voting. Which is, and I want you to take into consideration this, so that I can feel that I'm heard. And let's think about the presence that this can create if this moves forward. And let's consider how the things have happened. People apply, to that legal HOA for permission to put a garden or whatever they want to do, and they got a green light to do that, and they went ahead and did that. Okay, so there is a legal entity and a legal approval. And now we're voting for this, and I suggest you to read about how this was written, because one option was the license, which is fine, but the other option was, if this is not approved, then we're gonna go and ask you to remove everything and at your cost. So think about that implication. We cannot change the rules of the game. If I have a legal approval and I have gone ahead and invest in something that was approved, why do we have to change the rules? If, let's say that this was not approved, then they can come and say, okay, now you have to remove all the plants and at your cost. If you don't want to do that, we will send someone and then we'll pay your bill. So what are options were we given? And if we get a presence of approving this, then we can create this event where anything in the future can be questioned. I can say, I'm not a lawyer and I don't intend to be, but I can think and I can reason about this. And when, if this is approved, then to me, everything that is in that HOA book can be revoked and changed. Even though it has been legal approved, and that's what my concern is.
You said, you had, did you make improvements that are in on HOA property?
No, I'm not even affected by this.
Okay.
But I really want to know because of the presence that this can create.
Cause I'm a little, this is where I draw confusion too, because the attorney says and the HOA board says that there's been no legal record of any approvals that were made. And then other folks say that they do have documentation authorizing it. So it seems to be another conflict here.
Well, we can,
You haven't done that, so that's.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but we can come, to the people who submitted an approval and they should have some paperwork.
Yes,
Yes.
okay. I'm Donna Donato, I'm the president of the HOA. 80 homeowners elected this board. When we got elected, we did our best, and we said that we were not gonna show partiality to anybody, even if it was against something that we wanted individualized, that we would do what was best for the association. This book has the declaration and the rules that we have to go by as an association. I'm sorry to inform people, but Article 10 on page 000131 is called Compliance and Arbitration. We have already gone through, it states very clearly how the board has to handle arbitration if there's a problem in the development. And we have followed this with one case so far, but I've been on the board. The ARC committee, I'm just going to address some of the concerns that you've heard tonight. The ARC committee, at the one meeting where Mr. Rotundi, I did speak to him and I said, I suggested to him, if you want, why don't you run for ARC? Didn't tell him he was gonna be elected. The ARC committee interviews people that they feel are a good fit for them and that have the skills needed to be on the committee. And the ARC committee then sends the list of those people to the board. And then the board votes on the people that they've recommended to the board to go on. The board does not decide what people go on, the ARC committee does. I'm sorry if some people weren't elected, but we can't always get elected to a position that we go and be. Mr. Ciani decided that he sent a note saying that he would like to be on ARC, but only if he could work with Mr. Rotundi and not on the amendment issue. Unfortunately, if you run for a position, you have to be able to work on a number of different issues. And segregating the amendment out, I guess I'll decide it was not a choice. Since we are elected, I'm sorry, I'm upset, because we've worked on this for over a year. It's amendment, and we did what was fair. I have a piece of property behind my house that was supposed to have a 1 in 3 slope. It is not, it is much steeper. The builder was supposed to come and seed it, they never did. The road was, the Peter Sheridan knows about this. We have had erosion issues on that hill. So at my own expense, I invested about $2,000, hired someone to come and plan for us to keep the earth from eroding more. This amendment would have affected me too. And it would have affected a lot of other people on board with things that were put in on association property that were not approved. Amador, the builder, did not have a legal right to give away any association property. People have told me that the contractor was working on a building and someone said to them, can I extend my patio into this area? And they said, yeah, if it looks nice, go ahead and do it. I don't have approval for my patio. I know that the person who did it, the builder, went to Amador and did it, but I don't have anything in writing. So we had a situation come up now where somebody had gone in with a patio into association property. And if anybody got hurt on that, the only person that would have been liable was the association. And that was not fair to the other 79 homeowners who were not responsible for this piece being put in the association property. So the reason for this amendment was to make an even playing field for everybody. Yes, the association thought that the environment looked beautiful. And we didn't want to have people have to take things out. But it's also not fair to have 79 people be responsible for somebody if someone sues somebody for something that they put on association land. So we decided that rather than make everybody take everything out, which a lot of HOAs do. We decided since these things were in and they look nice, that we would make an even playing field and say, okay, we'll amend the amendment, we'll put an amendment through that says now. Anything you have on association property is fine, but you still, if you put anything new on it, you have to go through the art committee. For their review, make sure it's not gonna be a tree that uproots sprinkler systems or electrical lines. And you can have the shrub there, but if somebody gets hurt on something that you planted, then you're responsible for that, and you need to have the insurance liability to cover. It. That's all the amendment was saying. We were just trying to clear and even the playing field, so that people did not have to uproot everything that they had.
Why don't you just, if somebody put a deck 10 feet onto the association land, why don't you just tell them to take a circular saw and.
We could have done that, but we decided that since so many people had encroachments on HOA property before this board came into effect, that it wouldn't be fair to everybody to do that.
Now, the decks that you're talking about, are there a lot of actual encroachments or are they within
Yes,
the easement, the 12-foot
Yes.
easement?
yes.
I
I
think
think
it's still a lot of
These
time,
go beyond.
maybe 3/4 of the residents have.
we
something like
figured it
that.
was about 70%.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
70 to 75. So I've been on the village board since I think 2018 and had a good fortune to work on any piece of legislation over that time. You, like you said, I think, or maybe the attorney said, no, good goes unpunished sometimes. I don't have a problem with the per se. I think it makes sense. It's a good compromise. But what I found is when we pass legislation, that there's always little things that you wish you could have gone back and fixed. There's always little things like, oh, I didn't think of that. Oh, I didn't think of this. I wish I'd have had that. And that's where the grievance idea comes from, is that I think if you'd have thought of that, you, maybe I'm wrong, I might just, it's kind of a decent idea and maybe you would have incorporated it. And maybe that could have allayed some of the concerns, and that's the way I feel about something. Sometimes I patch through class stuff as a board, and after the fact, I'm like, oh, we need to go back and tweak this. I need to add that. We didn't consider this, and it's hard. You're there, you're a volunteer, basically doing your thing, right? You're trying to get together with a group of people and write stuff with good intentions. This piece of legislation does not have a check in it for what is a very small group of people that can make a decision on a revocable nature that can cost the homeowner a lot of money. I can put a $20,000 improvement with a license, and somebody could come back 6 months later and say, no, tear it up. And then that person has to file suit or make, and it costs a lot of money, right? And I think that a small tweak to that would be, if there was a grievance committee, and independent of the small group of people that are on the ARC, that it would allow that person to at least have another voice before then lawyers get involved and it gets very expensive and everything else. So that's the problem is, or the issue that I see with this is the fact it is a revocable license puts too much power into a very small group of people and could cause tremendous expense to the homeowners. Now, whether or not it's appropriate for the board, I think we do have the authority. I think it's unusual, but we do have the authority to make these suggestions. I think had you thought about this before, maybe it might be something that you would have included. And so that's where I'm at with it, and I totally empathize with you. I understand it's difficult, and I understand the emotions as well. You're doing things to volunteer, you're trying to make the community better. I get it, totally get it. We do the same thing all the time. But I do think the way this is written is just, it concentrates too much power at the expense of the homeowner's finances. And that's just, everything else makes sense. I totally agree. Like you could say, if we don't do this, we're gonna have you tear everything up. Too much liability. I understand that. The license itself makes total sense, allows people to do what they want to do.
And keep what they have.
And keep what they have. I get it. I totally get it. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I appreciate it. I understand both sides. I just think this was maybe a gap or a blind spot that maybe wasn't considered when the legislation was written. Or it's a blind spot that I certainly see in it, having read it, and I really wish that we had had as a full board the opportunity to review this, because I think had we had that opportunity and cast another set of eyes on it, then it might have been something you all said, you know what, that's kind of a good idea, we should maybe include that.
I think the reason we didn't is because it states in our declaration, the steps for the compliance and arbitration.
Right, which is concentrated, okay.
One of the problems with that is arbitration. Committee consists of the president of the board, chairman, the head of the chair, two other members of the board.
It's a judge, jury, and execution
Yeah,
situation.
it's just that.
But it's also,
We have the appeal committee of the board.
but it's using also the compliance committee, which is one person. And other appointed members to that committee on the homeowners.
President, it's probably decided. Of the arbitration.
Yes,
That's where we saw issue with, and again, had we had. Opportunity to review that, that would have been an input that we would have provided, speaking for the board, because I think we're all.
Yes, I second that,
Yeah.
and that it's setting it up so people that are saying you need to take this out are the same people that the grievance goes to. They already made the decision, so where's the checks and balances?
Mr. Attorney.
Thank you. I'll try to be very brief.
Yeah,
Board's comments, I understand. But we still go back to the fact that 62.5% of all owners approved this, okay? Positive spoken as far as the majority rule is concerned. The grievance concept is something, and first of all. The owners elected the board. If the owners are not happy with what this sitting board did, they have a remedy. They don't vote for them the next time. Okay, very simple. Right? But in the meantime, this grievance concept and concern that, well, you're grieving to the same people who are ultimately making the decision. That is life. Okay, this is how HOAs typically have their internal matters dealt with as an internal affair. The end result is if you're still not happy. You know, you try to convince the powers that be in your association, not the village. That, you know, this isn't right, and that board does not agree with that particular owner. Unless the board has done something contrary to its governing documents or other provision of law. The business judgment rule applies. So if that owner decided, well, I'm gonna take it to the courts, fine. But the court is gonna say, as long as the governing body followed its internal governing documents, there's no other issue. The court is hands off. That's the business judgment rule, okay? So. The group as a whole has powers to, if they think something is wrong or if something is wrong, they have their private. Association remedies, which is to vote the bums out and bring in new members of the board who see things differently.
or has this removed.
but in the meantime, my $20,000 patio is getting torn up.
Listen, let's talk about that for a minute. I'm an owner of a townhouse. I get a lot deed and I have a survey showing where my boundaries are. If I choose to take, and again, if the developer gave you permission, let me see it. Let the board see it. And even if that's true, the developer had no right to do that. Your rights are pursuant to your deed and the declaration, nothing else.
But you could have a board, you could have an art committee that approves it and licenses it, you do the work, and then the art committee changes and says, you know what, I don't like that shrubbery. I don't like that porch.
Don't have a
And it gets pulled up, and then the people that decide on it are the same people that are revoking it.
And
So
your
that's,
remedy is to go to the courts and try, well,
I personally would like to impose. Another. Review committee prior to having to go to court.
I'm gonna let your
Could be
attorney,
after the arbitration.
your attorney can advise you on the merits of that approach. Okay? Now, the other thing is.
One moment, please.
Sorry.
One moment, please. If our zoning board or the village makes a decision. And then you do something, put in $20,000 worth. And then 6 months later decides that they don't like that.
which goes to the village board, which is a totally separate entity, they have an appeals process, correct, Tom?
Alright, so that's what
We can appeal things.
the
I
ZBA.
believe the determination of the CBA goes to the Supreme Court by article.
Okay, so but there's the
But planning.
Oh, but, yeah, come. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, business judgment rule applies as long as the HOA follows the law and the declarations, et cetera. A change has been enacted, but not approved by the board. And this board would like to see that if you have a license, and that license is going to be withdrawn, so that you have to remove your property, that there be some reason articulated for that. And then again, that there be some appeals process. But to include that in the documents, so that that's between the business judgment rule and the decision.
I understand the concern. The question is, does the village have the power to go to that level and try and impose it on the HO? I don't think you do. Let me say this though. The declaration is a living document, as are the bylaws. It can be changed at any time if there is an appropriate impetus by owners petitioning their board as a group, have another meeting, 2 or 3, next annual meeting, have a special meeting. And this is one of the concepts. And if it looks, I mean, I don't disagree that it makes sense, but the problem is you're starting with something you had no right to do in the first place as a property owner.
We disagree that this board does not have the authority to disapprove.
Okay. Like, we don't have to go there tonight.
You don't have to go
They have my analysis and,
But this is a license, I think we're talking past each other here. You're given a license by our committee to approve the HOA. 6 months, a year, 2 years later, that license is revoked because it's a revocable license. You have to then remove what was approved. That is an approval. It's not that you did something without an approval. This stuff that's, I totally agree, the stuff that's already there needs a remedy. There is a liability issue. Don't disagree. My problem is going forward. The power is concentrated into small of a group of people, and there's no real appeals process because the appeal goes to the same group of people pretty much. That it makes sense to have another set of eyes on it, whatever those set of eyes are that are independent of it, so that people don't have to get lawyers involved. No disrespect to you or you, because you pass a lot of money, and that they don't have to wait till the next HOA election to make sure that their patio is going to be there. It's not that difficult of a process to just include some sort or some reason articulated to Tom's point and to put that in the document, some way to make sure that we don't have an abuse of power, because it's a small group of people. It's 80 people. Our committee's what, 3 people? 4, 5 people. The HOA board's a small number of people. We all have checks and balances here. The village board has a check and balance. Planning board has a check and balance. Zoning board of appeals has a check and balance. In this instance, there is no balance with this, and there is a large monetary thing involved for the individual property owner should there be an abuse of power. And it shouldn't have to be that person then have to get lawyers involved in court proceedings and things like that, without there just being some simple language like, hey, we're doing this not because we don't like you, but because of X, Y, and Z. That's all.
I have a suggestion for everybody's. I'm using the road was. If the board were to approve this amendment. And we leave it at that, but put a condition on it that. It is approved, subject to the boards, the association. Putting together an amendment that addresses the concern, i.e. grievance period, procedure. Or something that there has to be a legitimate reason to revoke. Nobody on the board wants it. You've heard the board speak. And yes, the board can change. But let's say you give us the approval tonight to do this. And let's say within 6 months, if you haven't had another meeting of the owners to vote on the amendments and share them with the village can comment on them, will be distributed to the owners. But if the owners don't approve that amendment by the required percentage majority, then I hope the village would let the matter lie. So I think that's a fair compromise.
I'd like to reverse the order. I would like to see the amendments before we vote.
Yeah, you said circulate, right? Yeah.
Oh,
You won't
I
start
said you would have an opportunity.
Before we vote on this.
Well, then we have. Okay.
What is the problem?
The problem is,
They need to deal with the situation. I understand. You need to deal with the situation as
deal with that.
because if somebody breaks their leg,
And
I
with
get
all
it.
due respect to whatever the other opinions are, done my research and you're really pressing the envelope of your zoning powers and authority. Read Village Law 7-700. It tells you what you can do as far as regulating and what you can regulate. Okay?
Under HOA. Under PDD and HOA,
Village law.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Does
It
that
applies
apply
to your PDD statutes,
HOA?
your zoning ordinance as well.
Tom, are we able to do what he suggested, which is put a contingency on this to say if it's approved contingent upon HOA voting on a new set of amendments incorporating our
The
suggestions.
difficulty is, I think we need to put down in writing what those amendments would be. Which is what we discussed here, which is you can yank a license without articulating a viable reason. It doesn't mean the landowner's done something wrong, some other condition they have changed.
Your
But we need to see
granting rights
that.
don't exist in the first place, but be that as it may. We can work on that language. I don't have a problem with it. It's just that. Under the declaration documents, which I assume were reviewed at the time of the offering and being submitted. This procedures, all these procedures are spelled out. You're changing the fundamental nature of the structure of the documents themselves.
But so is the HOA board, right? So is the HOA board is changing the structure, right? They're adopting, they're putting this mechanism in place, so.
As it has a right to do it.
Yeah, right, as we have a right to have a say on. Just speaking to the HOA board, would something along the line of what gentlemen suggest, what your attorney suggested there be acceptable to, without putting you on the spot?
Yes.
We have a workshop meeting on October 1st, we can vote on things. You know, if it's, so if we could get you two gentlemen.
Eric, can we take the sense of the board as to whether that's something that would be acceptable?
Could you repeat it? Could you repeat what you really?
My proposal is approve the amendments as they presently are. Why? Because the board and the association has gone to great time and effort and expense. To tee up amendments, have meetings with the owners, and again, 62.5% approved. And I'm sorry, I just don't buy the comments, well, they felt they had no choice. No one was holding it.
Because we
It's not editorial.
So prove it conditioned upon there be another amendment proposed to the membership. 6 months. Meeting to vote on it held, but if the membership comes back and rejects these additional changes, I think the village should accept it.
Well, now that we have 6 months notice of it, we won't be.
Well,
Yeah.
no, we're asking you to approve the amendments as they are, contingent upon, This second step.
Amendment.
right,
Yeah,
and if the amendments are approved, nothing to worry about.
so in other words, what you're saying is, the HOA board drafts, change the amendment saying that, we're gonna create a grievance committee of 3, 4, 5 people, or we're gonna stipulate that it has to be with reason. And it gets presented to the HOA, and if they vote it down, the village will just accept the voting down, and I have no problem with that, because personally, as a board member,
Putting together a grievance committee is separate from having to have a reason, articulate reason.
yeah, I would say they can decide on what they wanna do as an HOA and vote on it within 6 months, and then we can. We're basically, what his suggestion is, as I understand it, is. We're doing, if we were to vote on this today, and the reason to vote on it today is because it's a life, it needs to be acted on in terms of historical stuff. That now that the board is aware, or the residents are aware that maybe this is something that they should look into. That it gets brought up for a vote within 6 months. And if they vote that they don't want a grievance committee, that they're just okay with it being concentrated in the board of the art, or if they don't want to add what you were saying about the 4 cause, that we then just say, okay, you guys, that's your decision, we try to give our input as a village board, and you decided against it, and that's fine, I'm personally okay with that.
May I take another suggestion? I also am okay with that.
We shorten the timeline to 3 months, though, 6 months seems.
3 months, like,
So,
look, we need to vet this within the community. It's gonna take several meetings. You know, not much is gonna happen in 6 months, no matter what. It's not as though we're going to,
it doesn't seem like a major change, major amendment.
Everything takes longer than you think it's going to. Trust me, this is gonna take a while. You're dealing with a volunteer board. Notice of meetings or open meetings to discuss with the membership. And I'm gonna suggest that it should be at least 2, if not more, in this time period. Tom, I would also like to suggest that I think the real problem there is the real concern is that the amendment talks about revocation or revoking 30 days notice, basically for any reason. We can add cause, and I'm happy to work with you and actually come up with some articulation of what would constitute cause. And I don't care if the 30 days goes to 90 days, all right? But I think that's building in a fair safeguard, probably be tacked on to the existing grievance committee. I don't like the grievance committee because if you look at it closely, it's one of the enforcement remedies available to the board. It is not exclusive. The board does not have to resort to that. If there's a violation, the board can basically go to fine penalty proceeding or to court. Right, so the grievance, I'm not really sure it adds anything. If we put in standards as far as, you know, what would have to be an example of cause, and there's 90 days. I don't know what else you can do with private association.
I believe that you and I can come up with language that will adequately address that.
And I'm okay too, if the board votes that down, that HOA board votes that down, I will, as a board member, accept their vote. I just don't think it did feel a little bit rushed, and I do think that we didn't get our full input for whatever reason, and so I'm okay with personally. Making sure that we adopt this today, I'm okay with that, and then as long as we,
I
yeah.
think that we would adopt it at our upcoming.
Oh, I'm sorry, in 2 weeks, yeah, I'm sorry, so 4 times. So which would be October. The first, October 1st.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be action by the board, it would be action by the entire membership.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, apologies.
Thank you.
Right, yes, sir. Right, Rosso, 35 Gilman Road. I just have a question. Is it possible to have what the attorney is speaking about documented prior to the approval of the license agreement, so that you could see it firsthand and then decide?
We're gonna get the language right, some of this before, prior to the workshop is to be published.
We are going to draw the language, this board's consideration, which will be a public document. That can be disseminated, reviewed, and commented on
Prior to the approval of the license agreement?
prior to October 4th. Under what?
You'll have the grievance wording and the cause before October 1st, the wording for it.
No, I don't.
It sounds like.
Is that a workshop meeting?
That's
It's a
a
regular-
workshop meeting, but it is a regular meeting and the board can vote. Do you see any reason that you and I can't come up with that language before then?
Yes, and only because of me. I'm gonna be gone the week of 29th. We're selling a property out of state. I had no choice. I've gotta be there for the closing. I also have to be out of the property for the closing with buyers. So I'm gonna be pretty busy. So if there's any way, what's the next?
Can we push it to the next meeting? Yeah, it's also my daughter's due date.
Which will be the 15th. The 15th. The 15th.
I'll be walking around MFK.
So, but between you being out of town and you being in Mammoth Cave, I
Visit
think,
your family.
that's. 15th, is fine. I was just suggesting the first because they want to get action on it, but if it's. 15th is fine, I had no thought in fight this in the 15th.
I have no idea how, I've heard the word grievance committee a number of times, but I have no idea what its function would be. So that first issue, you and I can draw language together and circulate it. Sounds like there'll be plenty of time for people to review it. When the grievance committee, I wouldn't know what you could do.
No, that was, I think it's, the way I understand it, again, they will have 6 months to draw the additional language up, at which point their full membership will vote on it, and then we'll just. If they vote it down, we're gonna accept, then voting it down, and if they vote for it, then we'll accept that too.
Oh, correct. Was-
Okay, so
was
the
your
only
question-
language that the lawyers are gonna come up with have to do with the. Reason for withdrawing the license agreement that has been granted. And where an objection to that would go.
And language to say that the village board is approving them subject to there being a new vote. 6 months from now, that's it, yeah.
We have another question.
That's, I guess, a bit grievance. Again, my question was the agreement on the grievance committee and whatever other documentation they were going to provide, 6 months or 3 months. Can you see that prior to approving the license agreement?
No.
Now, why wouldn't you want to see that prior to the license agreement?
I would, but if there is actual liability involved, that would be pushing window liability out another 3 months or 6 months, and. I mean, I can see why.
It's a compromise position, this essentially, that we're reaching a compromise to say, yeah, we understand as the village board that the HOA wants to minimize their liability right now. And that we're giving you then time as a community to make a small change to the policies to make sure that there's no concentration of power. And if you as an HOA community decide that you don't want that and you're cool, then we will accept your decision as a village board. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
And I would add that in this interim period, even if you approve it conditionally tonight, those amendments will not be recorded in the county clerk's office. Where?
That I did not catch. Could you repeat that?
I'm sorry, yeah. So just as an added assurance to the board and to the community. If you conditionally approve the amendments as presently passed by the membership. Part of our understanding will be that those amendments will not be recorded in the county clerk's office as an amendment to the declaration. Until we get to that next stage. Fair enough?
That would,
Okay.
yes.
Yes, hi, Gary. Thank you. I'm Paula Doyle. I'm at 3 Hillman Loop and I've been on the board since we took over from the builder. So I've been there 9 years. So in terms of Matt's question with the not knowing, the B member on our board, Peter right now, is supposed to be kind of the liaison to the village. So when Donna and I came down with the plan in June, we sat down with Gary and Peter, and in my impression, that was our turning over to,
Understood.
and we apologize, so.
Communication understood.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think moving forward for all of us, because we do feel like we're floating out there as a HOA, I know you have another homeowner association in the village. We really need a little bit more clarification, or, kind of guidance on working together, what your expectations are, what our expectations are. And from our standpoint, in the PDD, and this is what the board, as a board member, our goal is to protect the association. And so the purpose in the declaration, the purpose of the association is to maintain and preserve the existing character of the unimproved common areas within the PDD for the benefit of all the townhome owners. Own, operate, and maintain the association property. So I appreciate you taking into consideration the liability, because this is what we're feeling, is that we're getting around the property and we are being set up, by beautiful things that people did, but you're putting a lot of responsibility on other homeowners. There's been misinformation given at the last time. We have about 30%, I think it's 20, take that back, 27 people in this community have not even turned a stone over in their yard. So they have totally followed every rule in the book. And then we have other people that have taken it beyond, beyond their limits. So, in protection of those people that are following rules, we're basically giving people that aren't following rules more protections than those that are following rules. So it's making it very difficult. So I've been involved with this for over a year, trying to get something together. And, as a HOA, if you look across the country, it's yes or no. You can't. My parents lived in a homeowner association. You couldn't turn a stone over without being fined or being told to rip it up. So we're trying to be fair and we didn't try to frighten people. It's like this guy drove down the Northway today, ticket or lose it. You have to be given consequences. We can't just keep growing and adding things on to property you don't own. I own a corner property ready to come into the development. I could just start staking it off and say, I own a half acre of land here. Donald lives in a middle unit. The price of my house is gonna go up significantly if I feel that I have rights to that property. I don't want the rights to that property. I wanna follow the rules. So that's all we're trying to do. But I would like more guidance from the
It's
trustees.
an opportunity for us to work better.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
My name is Mick Ciani, I'm 7 Ardelia. One comment I want to make to our attorney is, I've been chairman of our Unit Owners Committee for 11 years in Florida. And we went through taking over the HOA from the developer. Our Architecture Review Committee and our Grievance Committee are totally separate from the board. There's no board members on there. Purposely, because many times we'll get a grievance coming in or a violation or a fine, which the committee agrees with the people that are grieving, and we turn it around and don't accept the board's action. It should be independent. If it's a board member on there, it shoots the whole idea right out the window. Thank you.
You send us a copy of your,
Pardon me?
could you send us a copy of your declaration that outlines what the grievance committee?
Yeah, I'll find it.
That's helpful. Yeah,
Madeline Grasso, 35 Company Blue. I just wanted to, just say, I understand what the attorney saying about the liability, in case of an accident or somebody gets hurt. But I don't know if the board has looked into with the insurance agent, which I have, the one that we have in Victoria Landings. And his verbiage was the HOA, regardless of a homeowner having insurance, the HOA will still get sued because they own the property. So it's not alleviating it, so what it's actually doing, it's actually costing the homeowner twice. They'll get sued personally, and then they're going to be part of the HOA soon.
I would like to say, thank you guys for putting up with us, because I know. And you've all done a good job, so thank you.
Vanessa, make sure that.
Verbatim, please.
Comment?
This might be Peter right here, but I'm acting, I'm acting as the liaison to the Crown League baseball field. We've had some, well, actually, Amber is the head of the baseball league for the Malta Round Lake Baseball. They started their season, I think on the 15th.
Yeah,
It's running to the 25th of October. We have some issues that have arisen for her and for some other people in the village. I'm gonna let her go ahead and talk about yours.
So we've had some issues with dogs in particular at the baseball field. So as of right now, my understanding is that dogs are allowed to be there. It's not a big deal.
And when you say baseball field, you mean the enclosed or
The entire thing.
Okay.
In its entirety, whether it's beyond the fence or it's in a parking lot.
We've had a couple instances where people are getting out of their cars and the dogs are off leash and letting them run. We've had people who unleash their dogs before they get into the enclosed area. Not to mention the fact that the enclosed area, the fence is too short, dogs can easily jump over that, and the gate does not fully close at the bottom, so small dogs are escaping from it. And it's not a dog park. It's not licensed for a dog park. The baseball league's liability is not going to cover for a dog attack on the baseball field. We have had a couple of people who are been family members, at the league who have questioned what is going on. Is it a dog park? Is it not a dog park? We've got kids who at the end of spring season, we're getting covered in dog poop, or not cleaning up after their dogs. We asked somebody to clean up after their dog, and I got cursed at, for asking somebody to clean up after their dog. And then being told that I had no right to be there, and I'm trying to open up the field for kids to be able to play. The enclosed area is next to our 4-year-old T-ball section. So we're talking about little guy. This is their first introduction to baseball. I don't care what dog it is, if you play fetch with a dog, that dog is going to become ball aggressive. So if you see, if you had 2 kids playing with baseballs in front of the dog, you would say that they're teasing the dog with the ball because that dog wants the ball. And wasn't included. So now we're having issues where dogs are after the ball, coming out of the fences, there's dog poop everywhere, people are not following rules on, and it's a liability issue. We're trying to figure out what's actually going to happen, because if it's a dog park, fine, let's go ahead and license it. Put the fences out, do everything that needs to be done for it to be a legal dog park. If it's not going to be, then honestly, it's pretty much the end of baseball, if that is a dog park. If it's not going to be a dog park, then we need to have some rules and regulations, and we need to have somebody who's going to be down there. That's not me telling people that you cannot have your dog off leash on the field. You cannot have your dog off leash when I have kids playing baseball. It's becoming a safety hazard.
Currently is bad dog. Not off leash, but.
No, if it's on leash, I couldn't care less. As long as the dog is on leash and it's being controlled, that's not.
Right now, we don't.
We have
It's not.
We have a law that provides your dog must be on a leash for under your.
Which is under your control, right, which is in 8 feet of you not on a leash.
But it is a leash law, so I'll say we don't have it.
Literally, you can have a dog next to you not on a leash. It is allowed.
So, but the problem is when we have kids playing baseball and people are walking through with their dog unleashed while kids are playing baseball. But that's a problem, and they're going right to the outfield. My ask, I guess, is what can we do for a safety concern? We're losing members because of the dog issue. We're having kids being covered in dog food because of the dog issue. I appreciate that you put up another dog cleanup section. But that's also kind of encouraging more dogs to come at the same time.
So why is this a problem now?
It's been becoming a greater and greater problem. I think a lot of it is that people from outside of the village are coming to it.
Because they treat the closed area as a
As a
dog
dog
park,
park.
right? It's not officially a dog.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
A couple things off the top of my head. I would strongly suggest that if anybody violates or does anything that you don't like, give me the license plate if they're in a car, and I will send in a nasty major grant to them. I've done that for car traffic, people who blow through stop signs, if I get their license plate. As a start, we have seen them come back and do that. But, so that's one thing. Another thing would be to put signage up that, no dogs allowed during baseball time, put a big sign at that, then it's easy to point to it. Anybody who gets, the one person who cursed you out, I believe I know that I already sent him a letter and, we'll follow up. As far as being covered in dog poop, I think that's an exaggeration.
They're 4-year-olds.
Any amount of dog.
Any amount of dogs.
Under 18 is undesirable.
And it's 4-year-olds.
No question.
Like, rolling around with the friends,
But
that
also,
is like, we're
and also, but out there a lot, my God, I will tell you that I am never without my.
We have a food station.
Yeah.
From there.
Unless they're one. Anyway, one thing that. You have to recognize also is that there's tons of goose poop down there, so if a kid rolls. This place.
My grandfather was great, I'm well familiar with what this looks like, I've owned dogs, I've raised dogs my entire life. Like, it's only because right now my children are not old enough to take care of a dog, but we don't currently have a dog in our house. I understand that responsibility of that, and I also understand the difference between dog food and goose food. Like, you know, like, goose food for the most part will get mulched in as we mow the lawn.
They're both pretty stuff.
You know, dog poop, not so much so. Especially when you have a 140-pound dog who is like in piles. You know, like this is kind of the thing that we have going on down there right now.
Have you seen the 140-pound dog? Did that person?
I actually have, the guy who cursed me out, who has 140-pound German Shepherd.
Oh, shit, me there.
You know, like, this is so like, you know.
My memory fails me on this one too, but apparently, dogs were prohibited in the park.
Yeah.
Until 20.
Yeah.
So,
More on, why did those not change?
yeah.
Oh.
I was at work too, so I'll take. But that might be a situation as well.
We are actively looking for a separate dog park now. In fact, I think we have the chair of the dog park committee sitting here, shaking her head.
We're in 50 Danvers Avenue, for the record, I hear what you're saying, Ashley, and it's a genuine concern, and I'm persuaded to address this as well.
So working on that, I can work on signs prohibiting it.
If you currently have a law that states your dog must be leashed and or in your clear control, which is, if you're throwing a ball for your dog, you all know that you are not in clear control because they're dogs. Their one focus is on that ball. So what is our current mechanism of enforcement for violations of our current law?
Animal control.
$250 fine up to. And or.
So I think we should,
Without the dog.
Yeah.
I think we should maybe remind people that we do have these laws put in place and that good judgment needs to be used. Because we are in a very small community and we all need to share the spaces that we have. And for my dog, I just bought a 50-foot leash. So even if I were to go to that dog park, I could put my dog on that 50-foot leash and they're still leashed. The dog can run around quite freely, but they're still under my control. If I see them going towards kids or in a situation that I don't want them, I can just reel her right in. So there are ways that everybody can, in the meantime, before we get a dog park, there are ways that we can all try to.
My parents.
Also conveniently, Bob Clayton is also the animal control officer. He's on a baseball every day.
It's out right now.
I said, yeah. I don't. And it passed.
Yeah.
I mean, had,
Can I ask?
I've had accidents that are more aware of this. I couldn't say, hey, Bob, if you see this happening, go talk to the people, write them up, give them a ticket, you know, because it's.
Can I ask a question? So we obviously removed, and I'm not a dog, so I got no dog in this fight, literally. We did remove, so we used to prohibit it in the park, baseball field. If we constructed a dog park, would there be any thought to revisiting? that prohibition.
Well, possibly because Scott has another iron in the fire with a big ball field.
Yeah, so I mean, if you can allow me to speak here, I just think this is this, I understand, we have a lot of dog owners. I was one also, my dog passed away. And I used to bring him down to the ball game, back when nobody was there to let him run, usually when nothing was going on. Okay, this is basically being promoted as a dog park. I know, 'cause I live down there, I see people come in, I ask them what they're doing here. They said they let them go in the park. I've had people come there with training stuff for their dog, to train their dog inside of the park. I mean, just the fact that somebody's come up to her and said that you're, get away from me, I can do what I wanna do. I wasn't aware that.
He says that anyway.
I understand, well, that's, I also, I talked to you about the woman that had the Saint Bernard, who went after me after I was showing this gentleman the field. Because he's interested in putting of another ball team there. A trap with you. And this woman came into one gate, said, I hope you don't mind, my dog's probably gonna jump on you. But he's very nice, he's not going to bite. And I said, yes, I was a UPS man for 31 years, and I heard that at least 100 times. And right after that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the first time he's ever done that. So, these people that are actually letting their dogs go, they think they can let them free. That's what I wanna know, is it legal to go inside that gate, shut those gates, and let your dog free? That's all I want to say, that's what they're doing.
It's a public park, it would be legal. In any public park, subject to the limitation of under your immediate control, whatever that. So
So,
if that dog, if she said, hey, dog, come back, if that dog came back, then yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna, please on me. The dog can go from being under your control to not under your control in a split second when they are not leashed, especially when you have baseballs being thrown.
That's now.
But that's where our concern is on this side, is that right now, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, we have volleyball going. During the spring season, we have baseball going on from April, as soon as the field is dry enough to play on, till the end of June. And coaches, whether we have a game scheduled or not, will schedule additional practices at the field. So that is pretty much every night, Monday through Friday, and almost any time during the day, Saturday, and sometimes Sunday, depending on what the kids' schedules are and the coaches' schedules are. So if the kids are going down there to play and they have a dog off leash, and the kids start throwing a ball around, well, now we have a problem. If that dog is no longer under that person's control to go over after a ball, it happens in a split second. And I think that's our primary concern. Is the fence is only a 4-foot fence. It's about 4-foot fence. It's not high enough. Most dogs can clear a 4-foot fence with very little problem. And the gates don't fully close. And not to mention the fact that back there is where we were trying to put in another T-ball field that we can't put in. Because there's constantly dogs in and out.
Well,
So-
as I recall, we gave permission to do the field and we said we would put fencing up. To separate it. And that plan didn't go through, so.
So the fencing to go up, I was not aware of. I understood that we could put a field up, but it's going to be with the gates.
I mean, it's not gonna be
Sorry, there.
8-foot stockade
Yeah.
fence, so it would probably be something like the green fence, the outfield.
That's a fabric fence, that's not, okay.
But it's a fence and it's been planted for years. So, I mean,
I think there were, I think we all understand what's going on, but I know we have. My concern is, it's not the owners of these dogs that are coming in, because. You're right, it's your responsibility to have your dog on a leash or watch your dog and make sure he's under control. But these people that are coming in outside of the village are not doing that. They're not doing that. They think it's a dog park, it's basically, there's more and more things showing that this is a dog park by putting a dog poop station inside the fence, right next to the door. And also by having a dog nail clipping place coming in and which is great, I think it's a great idea, but. It's more of a promotion of more and more people coming in the area and just dumping their dogs here and running in. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run into a problem where somebody's dog is gonna be in there. And I know for a fact that most of the dogs from this village, not most of them, but I know at least 3 of them, people come down and they let their dogs go in that field because they're not good dogs. They're not dogs that should be off leash. They bring them down there so they can run. And something is going to happen, I'll tell you that right now. And it's put a residents only sign.
Public park. But what we can put up is a sign that says. Dogs allowed only when baseball is not being played.
Something along.
Excuse me. My name is Charles Woodson.
Hey.
Yeah, talk about the dogs. Yeah, my name is Charles Woodson. Look, and I knew Tom, you helped me out a couple years ago. Long story short, I'm pretty much a 30-year resident, not in the exact village. I live just outside of 67, right next to the lake. I live right up over here, and it's outside the lake now, right here at Northway 11. I have a service dog. I am 100% disabled. His name is Coda. I have the paperwork right here. You met my dog in front of you stayed a couple years. Anyway, I agree with what they're saying, but I am pretty much a resident here, to me. And I bring my dog to this park every day. He's a service dog. He works for me. I give him 1 hour a day to go down to the park and I let him in the gate. I walk around, I'll shut the gates, but he's a service dog. And let him be a dog for 1 hour. All right, but he's trained, which is different than somebody just turns their dog loose and let them run and so on and so forth. So I get where they're coming from. I think what I would be asking is what they're saying is, look, if you're somewhere in the residence, because there are people bringing dogs from the outside, I see it. I've been here, this is the first time I've been here. And I was approached today by this young lady, said that she, the other day, a dog jumped over the fence, so on and so forth. Okay, and I had to keep the dog on a leash. Okay. I did that. Then she mentioned about a board meeting. Perfect, I'll come tonight. Here I am. I agree with everything that they're saying, and I got all the respect in the world, but I do have a service dog. All right, and friendly, he can pretty much go anywhere as long as he's with me, you know what I mean? But as far as maybe putting up a sign, like you guys said, maybe like letting people know that, hey, you know, if you're not from this area, don't bring your dog here, and if he's an aggressive dog, it's hard to judge somebody an aggressive dog anyway. I mean, most dogs are going to a park. I mean, I haven't seen, I've been here 20-something years. I've never seen an aggressive dog in here since I've been here, since I've taken my dogs. And I just want to make sure I put my 2 cents in. But I respect them. I pick up after my dog. He's with me all the time. We pick up after the dog. I'm glad they put the poop station inside there. It works, you know. Most people, they let the dog out. It was over in the corner. They let the dog run around, whatever, off leash. Which I find, you know, look, at least it's closed in here. If you want to keep them in there, not off leash, and you got them in the fenced area, great. If you want to make it into a dog park for residents, that's even a great idea. You know, not during the times of baseball and so on and so forth. But I think the only thing you might do is, like you said, maybe put a sign up for residents that live around here, and you can walk their dog. You know, if they want to turn them loose, I mean, still under control. As long as, you know, you got a 50-foot leash, like you said. You know, like I did today, I had an extra long leash, at least you got to run a little bit, you know what I mean, and I respect that. But at the same time, he's a dog, dogs always good with dogs, and I understand their concern, you know, with little kids on a baseball field. I don't agree with all the poop thing, but, you know, yeah, I'm sure there's a few people that don't pick up after the dog, it's, you know, it's common sense. And, basically, that's really all I wanted to say, you know, but I have a service dog, and I've been here for over 20 years. And I'm gonna keep taking my dog here. You know, I don't bother anybody, and I respected the lady today with the fielders. I walked them around and then I left. So if there's a sign saying, hey, you got a baseball game this day, that day, great, you know what I mean? I know not to bring my dog, you know what I mean? And then, you know, other than that, you know, I've never been bothered. There's only a couple of dogs, a handful of dogs that I see that actually go in there, you know, but if there's a lot of people coming from the outside, I don't really see a whole lot of them, but I'm sure there probably is. Like I said, I only go down there 1 hour a day, so that 1 hour a day, you got maybe another 10 hours of daylight. And then you got other dogs coming in, so if that's the case, then yeah, then maybe that is an issue. Thank you.
Can I finish mine now? Yes, I appreciate that, though, that's good. So here's another one of my issues. So I am actually presently showing the field to a gentleman who wants to fix the fields
the bigger field, which is where the unofficial dog park is right now.
Right.
And wants to use it as wants to use it as a playing field for a travel league that he runs. He also runs a clinic, and it would be, we've had a travel league that utilized that field for probably 5 years or so. And then everything went fine, they actually keep the field clean, so if this guy comes in and the board approves of him coming in and using the field, and we rent the field to him. He's not gonna want dogs going on this baseball field, because from what I understand, this is a baseball field, it's not a dog park. So it should be a baseball field until it's a dog park. So I honestly think you should shut those gates and say no dogs allowed in the gates. They can go outside of the gates. If everybody's talking about how you're responsible for your dog and you can control your dog, there's no reason why you should have to be in the closed fence. Those gates should be shut. You can run in the other, there's a lot more land outside of the fences. You can run your dogs there. I just think that this is a baseball field. It's been a baseball field my whole life. Okay, and I know baseball is not, it's not as big as it was back in the day, but I think there's still a chance of being utilized as a field. Unless this has been, and I know that if you go down to Clifton Park Commons, you're not gonna see any dogs running around because they're prohibited. You're not gonna have it, a dog running up in the middle of a game, it's gonna happen. I just think that, I think it should be shut down. I think you should shut it and say you're not allowed to go inside of that fence. Okay? And my question is, so if we have this travel league comes in here, or if we have Amber playing on the field, when they're not playing on the field, you still want dogs down there running around the field and, you digging up the mound, or, I just don't think that's never happened. I've never seen this problem happening until, and that's why I said, I think it's getting to the point where this is turning into a dog park, which is fine, but make it an official dog park somewhere. We've been talking about this for a long time, but I just.
Well, I would say having the travel league coming in would be a good incentive.
Yes, sure, yeah. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight, so I am speaking for him, but he is very interested in coming in and fixing the field up. Because I'd rather see something be played on it, like baseball, soccer, lacrosse, or something you're supposed to be played. Because there's nothing worse than letting the field sit, which we had one field sit this year, and they need to be groomed. They have to be groomed, and if they're not played on, they become a weed pile. So, like I said, I had Joey Moore, he's I wish I knew more, wish I could talk a little bit more to him, but he's supposed to say, I talked to the board, and big proposal, so I don't know if we have to go do it under the board meeting, he has to approach the board, or if we just figure this out outside of the meeting.
Probably some tentative contract, what he's expecting, what to do, what he expects from us.
Well, I honestly think that we should get him on fix the field up. If he can get in this year, I'm sure he's not gonna be playing this year. But to start grooming the field the way he needs it, which he's willing to do. I think this year, if we were to contract enough, that would be a trade-off.
We're looking at dogs.
Hmm?
We're looking at dogs.
Yes.
I think that's a particular issue with the safety point. That issue is probably won't deal with somebody playing the spring, right?
No.
Okay, so let's work on that later. I think that's just
Let's work on what?
work on the renting out the large or leasing out the large baseball field.
Yeah.
Per acre. We've all been here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah, I'm saying, I just wanted to make sure he has an approach.
Just where those coming from, we made any decisions about dogs? Are we gonna put up signs, are we going to, what are we doing?
I don't say, my notes say signs, no dog with baseballs. In sessions,
Do we
instruct Bob to.
Do we do what?
Watch people.
So
Those are all things the mayor will do. Yeah, we should vote on.
Not for.
I do want to make a comment about the signs. I know it says no dogs while baseball's in session. Instead of that, can you set a time? Is there a specific time?
Yeah,
That'll be for.
Officially, our game scheduled for fall ball starts at 5 o'clock. They start showing up at about 4:50. During the spring season, it starts at 6, practices start at 5:30. So if we could do it from like 5 o'clock, I mean, it goes till, I mean, yeah, until dusk, like we end when the sun goes down pretty much. And then Saturdays we start at 9 AM and Saturdays we start at 9 AM and we end around 1 o'clock, unless it's an end of the season or beginning of the year celebration, then we go beyond that just because we have to parade and everything else like that.
You maybe just email that to us. Gary, right? Y'all have that. I don't see an issue.
Yeah.
I don't see an issue with anything. I thought we all probably make that adjustment. Code, if there are specific examples. If we don't put it in the code, if we say no dogs allowed, they're coming with.
I think when we put it in the code, we have to have general language like. No, no dogs. Within that. Fenced in baseball area. During times. When it has been leased to. Another organization.
Yeah, right, we have, I mean,
Specific
right,
times,
exactly.
those times are gonna change.
Exactly, no, I agree, one of the things we have in there is, can't have dogs in the fireworks display, so we could say something like, can't have dogs at sporting events, and then just put the sign at the house. For instance, but we can talk about that in the future. We are still in public comment, it's a record, almost 2 hours.
Danielle,
Danielle Rubin, Capitol. I have a question, I don't know if you can answer it, but it's directed towards, and the dog park. I love dogs, I've had one all my life, I don't have one right now, always get that back to my dog. What happens in a scenario with all these people bringing, not all these people, whoever comes to the dog park, let's say there's 10 to 15 dogs, and say they're from outside the area and they come in. Usual dog parks, and I appreciate that you're working on a dog park, they have certain regulations, they have a pay fee to come in, and your dog has to be vetted. So what happens per se, this continues, a dog jumps the fence, it goes crazy, or it runs after a ball and it bites a kid. We've had it in our village, dog bites. Who is responsible for that?
The owner of the dog.
So the owner would get, it wouldn't be because it's on our property that the village would get.
Because an accident occurs on your property, doesn't mean you are responsible.
It's in our code that the owner is responsible,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, that's good. Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Any more before we get to item 1 on our agenda?
I think we can have the ways.
Mr. Rowell.
No one should agree about it. I spent part of the winter out of town, back up Morris to Spade when I returned to some trees about that. Bumps me out. Village in the road, I say some people are worried it's the village parking lot. Having said that, I spoke with Gary today, Gary, maybe this is not. It's kind of starting with, I spoke to Tony Ross, who is over here. Evidently that tree outside his house is slowly up. Freaked me out a little bit, it's a beautiful tree right beside this building, I think it would be a loss for this property. I went online, the way, and reason, by the way, he wants to cut down, and his neighbor, they had some of the roots growing into the basement. Some leakage of sewage out of the site. The ways the tree can be saved without cutting it down. Getting to where it can. And 3 links at how that can be done.
In the last 2 hours? We spoke 2 hours ago, with that in the last 2 hours?
No, I did it about 10 minutes after speaking.
Oh, okay.
So, the bottom line is, I think it would be nice getting the floor away to save a tree like that versus, oh, no problem, just cut that. Okay, it's part of what the village is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd be grateful.
I'm unaware of anything of a way to save cutting roots.
You can cut the root.
I will investigate.
Yeah, and even if you cut the root, then years to die, so I'll give you another. But anyway, I'd be grateful.
Let me add something to that. You know that the insurance companies are telling people in the village to cut the trees down, they're not going to insure it. You realize what's going on? We've had trees cut down in the village because they can't get homeowners insurance.
If there's something case you.
No, I know.
I know that's not because it's happening. What about cutting down trees? People are doing it, not that they want to cut them, but they need to feel. Other insurance.
I'm not sure if nothing more happens on this one.
Okay, thank you, Ken.
Go home. I have to wait.
Power through.
Meeting starts at 8:30.
Dolls.
It's on.
Nap right now.
I'm tired. It's past that time.
Oh, it is.
Superintendent.
Yes, sir.
This is your first official meeting.
It is, it's my first official meeting.
Let's welcome our new superintendent, doing an outstanding job.
Well, this month so far, we got rid of all our scrap piles in the back that sort of people ain't looking at. So we did that and basic maintenance of yards and weed whacking and whatnot. Hopefully we can, get some approval on our excavator that we so dearly need.
That's coming up.
Okay. Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, they were.
And, treasurer, way over there is Bunky Z.
Hello. I respectfully request the board to authorize corrections to coding errors identified between accounts at 831010, at 8210, 130, and 514212. An incorrect time card entry for DPW payroll resulted in a misallocation of payroll expenses among dated accounts. The following correction is proposed, increase the A 514212 by $4,478.10. Increase F 8310 by $2,985.44. Decrease F 834010 transportation distribution by $7,463.60. And correcting the previous year, the increase should have gone to A 501010, not A 514212, as these two accounts are used based on season, winter versus not. The correction is as follows: increase A 501010, $4,478.16. Decrease A 514212, sum removal for $4,470.16. The treasurer is providing the September abstract for approval, which includes August prepaid invoices and September claims. The total for the September abstract is $96,822.66 and is to be approved per fund as follows: A fund, $92,979.04, F fund, $3,172.55, and G fund, $670.70.
Motion that we approve all of those requests about.
Jason, by discussion.
That's all.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Thank you. And, chief.
So non-incident 58 alarms for a total of 620 staff hours, brings the year-to-date total of 400 alarms. And almost 3,900 staff hours, training drills, that brings the year-to-date staff hours just over 8,000, so 1,000 hours a month. Also, this past month, Active Ingredient did make a donation to the host company, $1,400, the result of their annual fundraiser. September 27th and 28th, which is next weekend, we are hosting an elevator rescue class. If anybody wants to come, you're feel free to join us. It will only be slightly longer than this And on October 7th, which is the Tuesday, is the annual Django Voluntary Fire Safety Day. So that's what we do. Various topics that you should on every level. Something or you get something. There's a change pretty much every single week.
Okay, thank you. Code enforcement.
I'm dealing with a couple of issues with, fences on village property. Some issues on property lines for drainage on properties, most of the, little projects, homeowner projects moving along in the village. I did, get a copy of the proposed changes. Probably in July. I didn't know I was supposed to advance the law. I made recommendations. I gave talking, saying that, all I had to do with stormwater and Jack's blocking stormwater. That, I didn't know, I'm supposed to address this one. That's it.
Parking enforcement, animal control, Bob was in an accident. Yesterday. Yesterday, and he's okay, but his car is not okay. So. And I have to talk to him since I got back from. Okay, auditorium.
Hi. So September events, we had a good weekend, and we had, the previous weekend, Tom Dressler did an organ recital for his 35th year. And then Gail Archers was this past Sunday, and then Terry hosted an event called Swim Beach Shapes. And it was, all three of those events were well attended, and kind of a good way to close out the programming portion of the season. And then upcoming events is Rhythms of Round Lake on Saturday. Everybody come on out to that. There will be a dunk tank. You want? Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. We did one for the.
You get somebody with
Yep, we have one last open mic and then, movie night. Movie night. So that's the remaining events, other than, the wedding on October 18th. And then, Oliver was requesting using the auditorium for the zombie walk this year. The previous years he's used the parking lot over by Leah's. We wanted to use this, it's closer to the library, more central. So a lot of the activity for the zombie walk on October 13th will be outside of the auditorium, but he wanted to use it as kind of the gathering place for the zombie walk, so. That's something that I'm still ironing out all the details with Oliver, but I said that it gives the space for that.
October 13th.
Yeah. Yep. That's a Monday.
That's Saturday?
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday. Yeah.
Indigenous people.
And then we had a great workshop meeting. Thank you for leading that, Eric. It was great to hear everybody's voice about how they felt the auditorium could be used and then improvements that could just be made across the board. So one thing that I've worked on is I've created a page on the Round Lake Auditorium website that's called Activities Calendar. And it'll mostly be like an internal page. So there's the calendar of events that will be outward facing so that people can come and buy tickets and learn more about events. But then the activities calendar is a link that can be used for members of the community or people that are looking for open dates in the auditorium. And it'll show all the times that have been booked, and including things like the book market for loaded and stuff like that.
For auditorium stuff only?
Yeah, so it's that calendar that I shared with you.
Right.
And we'll just do a better job to keep that updated. But then I have it on the auditorium website as a resource that I can share with you. So I'll come into the office and we can look at it together. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to get a calendar that's gonna have like just all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be
So I want to
every
be able
like,
to include that or add those, but I didn't want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, so I think when we put events on the village website, you can just use the ones that are listed. Cause those are like definitely gonna happen. Then the other one is things that are like holds for the auditorium.
You can walk me through that, just so I know which ones I can.
And then it's also a calendar we can share with the people in the inner circle, just so that they know when they should be expecting people to go in and out. Yeah, so. I think that's it.
One comment on Oliver's thing, because I've been doing it a bunch of years and it's great.
Yeah.
He's had a fire breather
Right.
more than once.
Right.
If it's gonna be held near the auditorium. It's just.
No.
Fire breather just here.
No.
Just wanna make sure that.
And I think that's why he asked me, because I know he.
Yeah, he's done that a bunch.
Yeah.
And it's great. But,
It was funny when he first asked me, that was the first issue.
really? Okay.
But yeah, I think it's a competition, and then the performers from last Friday at Terry's thing, they were interested in coming and just making sounds. They just have like all these sound figures, so it'll be just kind of like Halloween vibe, sans fire. So, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. 83, yes, I don't remember if I already reported that, Andover has finished the, walkways and the Oregon, so that's complete, and 83 is, sent their last checks out. So that's one thing down, we're already working on the next, problem over there with, the pipes that are, the fascia pipes on the Oregon. Which hopefully we'll be able to address it.
Ever bring that up to you, or is that just something?
Andover,
Okay.
yes, they said, because of the lead pipes, they're starting to kind of sag. But I will take care of that. The fundraiser is, things going well, everything's pretty much in line. We had the village bring the tents down today, thank you very much, and the band platforms. And I believe they're gonna bring down the tables also and chairs. Already there. Yeah, there's a chair.
Yeah.
You bring it up?
Yeah.
Oh, so you got that right. Yes, thank you so much.
That's great.
Yeah, and then we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna have a food truck, and he's gonna have like hopefully some vegetarian options. He's gonna have a clam chowder for me, so hopefully it's gonna be a little chilly down there. I have a question to ask. The baseball league is having the concession stand. I think they're having a fan put in, not sure where you were in that period, fans. They're having a fan and another outlet put in. When the food truck was down there, he noticed that he has a 50 amp plug-in, which we don't have a receptacle for that. He said it's really easy to put in. I just talked to Amber while she was here, there's gonna be, their electrician is gonna be down there doing contracting work. If it's okay with the board, could I have one put in? It took fairly easy. I talked to Jason today. And if the board or the village cover the cost, it'd be great. If they can't, then they can go on that. I can't imagine if even. Yeah, I could get back to you. I can't imagine any more of it.
Have the issue that it shouldn't be terribly expensive.
Yeah.
If it costs more than $500 to put a receptacle just below the breaker panel, that would be a lot.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't think it's gonna be. And it actually is, it'd be good for the future if we do have somebody else down there, they'll have to plug everything outside and use for. Want to electrocute some of the. What's that? Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. We're having 9 bands. Yeah. We're gonna have 9 bands down there and, you know, if you wanna go roll around in the pool.
And the biggest you can do to raise funds is bring a bag of food to get a buck.
Absolutely.
Yeah, bring a big plate, pick it up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, we're gonna have a bunch of raffles. So yes, it'd be a great day. I see it's not gonna rain, so.
Or split the cost with AP3 and the.
Yeah.
Pay for it, sorry.
We need a motion for that now?
It's under fiber question, right?
Yes,
We do.
we're spending money, right?
Okay.
I'm $500.
We don't know if it's under.
Make a motion to authorize up to
$1,000 for the installation of a receptacle.
Second. Discussion.
Aye.
Yeah, okay, you want to adopt your 999 that? So,
I second that.
I use myself, however, we need 4 confirmed dates. Okay. Well, I'm gonna, I just wanted to, this, as far as the historian goes, I know it's not on the, but I did 2 tours. On the 6th of September this month, 60 people at $15 a pop, we split that, so that half goes to the village. And we did, Hudson Valley Walkers came on the 15th at $17, sorry, 17 people at $10 a piece, and received a check for that also. So it was very successful, and I'm hoping to do a lot more next year. And like I said, I think it's a good, I enjoy it. It's a nice little pocket change to bring into the village. Great.
Did you go tour like 2 days ago too?
So, and there's also gonna be a raffle at the fundraiser for a personal, like, private tour all around the, storage around the. And if I could use the village park for that, that'd be great. So we just like, people get more, I could get more information.
It's something about the one in October. Did you figure out that?
I think that's what Orlos is saying. I think the Orlos had approached me to do a history, some kind of history program. I said I would do it.
Just checking, I didn't know that was the barbecue or.
No, that was Orlos. I don't know.
Thank you.
Can I make one comment about the walkboards? Andover did a great job. I went up there and, he came back when Tom Dressler was here and was a little bummed to see bat turds already on them. And he just mentioned to me like, if we could put some sort of device that maybe makes a sound that bats don't like in the Oregon. So I don't know if that's something we want to have at Injury Tackle or the village board tackle.
We talked about that, didn't we?
At the last meeting, I had
Yeah.
I got some for the Latin farm rabbits eating my gardens. They're solar, you can hear it, they cost $20. This is not a huge investment, but it's cheap.
Yeah, if it's gonna fiber optic to get into the.
No, we'll have to figure out if we need for battery operating.
You can get plug-in versions, and I think.
They looked at deer whistles and they
Yeah.
scan.
Yeah,
They're replacing the one.
I think we should just do it.
Even if they don't want 100% for a relatively cheap price, they what it was like this, what they call ultrasonic rodents. Scare, I'm sure. It's all something ultrasonic.
Cause you can, you barely hear it, it's kind of like a. Yeah, you really listen.
They also made them that be like a flashing light, and because apparently they don't like that. Oh, it's so for that, might alter the long. Oh,
Yeah.
I put it in my head.
Yep, that's okay, thank you.
Where are ultrasonic.
Clerk. Tax and water bills will no longer be accepted after September 30th, so if you have not paid the June water bill, you still have an opportunity to pay it with penalties. Food pantry demands are high these days, so we will continue to accept donations of non-perishable food items for delivery to benefit Captain and Clifton Park for the time being. Basket is outside in the post office area, the lobby there. And then the post office is offering their doing a small business presentation this Friday from 9 to 11 to help people with small businesses, give them some suggestions or alternatives where the post office can be incredibly helpful to some of their needs for post office stuff. And there's gonna be cookies or donuts or some sort of treat for coming in. Chris was here, he was the postal clerk a couple of years ago, or and so he's here, so stop in, say hello, he might offer some advice or
Just say hello.
You. Okay. Okay. Under old business, set a date for a public hearing on the long-term rental changes.
A motion to set a public hearing for the long-term rental changes on October 15th at 6:30 P.M.
Second discussion. First.
Yeah, I usually do it, they said I'm regular meeting.
That's us.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Just for the record, we must always start on that side first.
I start with the old.
Traditional, it's by 10.
Yes, we're gonna have to sit beside this.
Yes, something that does.
We'll switch to seats and what's why.
Streetlights, okay to ask NYSEG to shut off one of the lights on the ball court. One of them will give you, it's shining.
Yes.
In different houses.
Yes, but my thoughts on that are we should tackle it kind of with a broader stroke.
Right, but this is a quick fix,
Are they,
easy fix.
are they going to give us any flack if we keep asking them?
I don't know, I don't care.
I do have a resident. Sorry, I do have a resident that came in pretty regularly saying, why are the lights out? You know, where's the other light? There's only one light lit. I said, are you a midnight like basketball player or something?
That was this, it had to be a long time ago.
No, it's been, I was gonna say, it's been, well, we put it back in, like in
Yeah.
the last year, but prior to that, he comes in pretty regularly and he was coming in and I'm.
Well, that's fine. Send them to me.
There's one case that you want to work.
Yes.
Three.
Yeah.
One covers.
Okay, so, okay for that, and then you thinking about the shield. If I can stay away long enough, I'll go up to Whitehall, wherever it is, check out the effectiveness of the shield.
So is that approved to get one limp up in there? Yes. We don't have to do a resolution, that's just a, do it, just do it. Okay.
I am also working on a rough cost estimate to put our own time love pole at the festival, but it's contingent upon, say, future proposal and acceptance of one of our items that we're gonna talk about later.
Under new business, EV station,
Yeah,
take it away, Matt.
do we want to do this now, or do we want to? Table this for 2 weeks till the workshop meeting?
I do have to take a look.
Yeah, it's gonna, because I don't want to rush it, and I'd rather take it's gonna probably take a good 15-20 minutes to walk through. The whole thing, I would say. Again, yeah, I would just say, let's just, it's not gonna cost us anything to wait 2 more weeks.
I agree.
Yeah, okay. Share or trust. So we're, yeah,
I sent it out.
yeah, and total. Yeah.
Next, ZBA appointment. Jake Ingram agreed to serve a 5-year term on the ZBA. I don't know about you know, it's a 5-year term. So 5 years, serving on that, so I have a motion to appoint him.
I make a motion to appoint Jay Ingram to the
Second. Discussion? Thank you, Jake.
Is that due to a resignation or just added? Or
Dan Shapiro resigned as chair, or Lori moved up to chair, so I'm replacing him.
I just texted Jake,
So actually, before we vote on that, we should potentially check if he's replacing Laura, that he would be the remainder of the term. So amend it to 5 years, the remainder of Lori's term.
think Eric just made the motion to approve it, not the duration, so.
Oh,
Good. Yeah.
So you can approve 10 years. All right, next, village debit card policy. Greg, did you want to say anything about that?
I do not have that ready.
Oh, never mind. Never mind.
Don't use it wisely.
So we just got a debit card, is that?
We did.
Debit card.
But I don't want to use it until we have a policy in place.
Gotcha. Because, the only reason I'm talking is that, the auditorium website needs a card, so maybe we should put it on that card, like a title to card. Yeah. Yeah,
Been using my card for several years now.
okay, so when it's ready, just let me know.
What's that?
We have a village, right, which is, it's
We have several different ones. Down for like outlet lights and.
Oh, yeah, I think we just said that we
Graphic.
Oh, I see, okay.
All right, next, contact excavator purchase. John, you wanna take it away?
Yeah, so, I was looking into possibly getting the John Deere 50P, it's a 10,000 pound machine. But, so it's like, you know, the middle of the road, not too big, not too small. It's gonna do everything we need it to do. I especially need it like in the village when we're doing curb boxes, tight areas, it's very, I don't know if anybody's ever ran a backhoe in here, but it's very difficult to maneuver a backhoe. And, it's slow. So another thing is like the drainage, next week, I'm gonna start doing some drainage work on Washington Ave. And with a backhoe, it just slows you right down, it's super inefficient. I mean, it's got a thumb on it, 36-inch grading bucket, a digging bucket. It would be useful for a lot of things, and not just digging, but lifting up logs if a tree falls, instead of using a strap or whatnot, you could just pick it up with a thumb.
Like the ash logs that are in the school house.
Yes,
Those,
yes, of course.
yeah, we were looking at a drainage problem on Washington Ave.
Yes.
There's some correspondence on that too. There was an email that's been through from a homeowner.
Yeah, that's a different.
Oh, it's different.
Yes, drainage problems. That was.
Yeah.
But,
I should say.
don't worry, then let's do a build up then. If you have gone through South Park, as I do all the time with my dog, South Park being the part southernmost from the basketball course. It is, we've done several projects there with the big hose, they just leave big ruts and trenches and. It's very difficult to walk there, especially in winter, because you can't see the ruts and things. Machines are good, they're just too big.
Yeah.
They're just too unwieldy for a lot of the projects that we have. We, Peter and I and John, and we walked a drainage project on Washington Ave. It's gotta be done, but you couldn't even hit the big machines there. And yeah, right. And what is that? How many tons is that?
The backhoe, I'm not 100% sure, but it's a lot, it's heavier than 10 tons.
Yeah. Twice that.
Yeah, it's probably like 20 tons. Yeah, probably something like that.
And big tires, it just needs. And there's just so many projects that. Ditching, for example, we spend hours and hours and hours. Going in the ditch, doing it by hand, weed whacking it, and this will have a great ditching bucket on it, just go in there, scoop it out, clean it. Yep.
So the time saver.
I get excited by it, sorry.
It's a huge time saver, and I mean, we have a smaller crew, so we're trying to be as efficient as possible. We're always doing something, so that tool will help us out immensely.
Something like that would be in service for
Very.
Yeah, so my only question is, why don't we already have?
I bet I was asking, I've been bugging you down.
I was not 100% sure, because this seems like. Before we even get a big excavator, that's for like digging the foundations and stuff. This is more versatile, more useful. We'll probably find that this is the go-to machine.
Yes.
All of the projects, and big excavator might not be.
Yes.
Needed. Potentially get excised for the
Yeah.
second one.
Yeah, so sometimes we'll take like our cat loader and our backhoe out if there's like a huge brush pile. Now, we'll take the machines and kind of like clamshell everything together. So we can pick it up and move it.
Oh, when you said excavator, you meant the backhoe.
Yeah,
The other
backhoe, yeah, the backhoe's the other machine, yeah.
Oh,
So we have the backhoe, it's got the pads and whatnot.
okay, I was thinking you had an actual big excavator.
No.
Okay,
No, sir.
so, yeah, I definitely think this is a necessity, as it is mind-boggling that we didn't have.
Yeah, I mean, so the problem we're having with the drainage right now, what's not new is galvanized. And the galvanized, I can almost guarantee everything that's galvanized in the village is in need of replacement. You know, and that'll
If you don't believe it, go to the corner where Peck Ave turns around, like that galvanized pipe that goes down over the river.
Yes, sir. Yep.
About 4 feet of it, just the whole bottom of it's around that.
Yes.
So a couple questions I have is, A, where you store it?
In the garage, it's small enough to fit in there.
I was gonna say, we you can make sure that the shape. Do we need like maintenance package or that kind of stuff to make sure that it's maintained over the long term?
So there is a maintenance package that will come with it. I would strongly advise that we take that maintenance package. It should be worked in right in the paperwork.
And then the other question, since you do a variety of things with the buckets and stuff, do you need a different bucket or attachments? I'm kind of thinking. Like weird snow removal or thing like that, or maybe thinking that.
So like ditch mowing and stuff, you can buy a head for it. It's an attachment, you can mow it, you know, like it's a flare mower. Flail, yep.
Yeah, I don't, like, I'm not gonna add to the price of something. If you
Yeah.
have the things, get the things, make it.
Oh, yes, of course, yeah, I mean, the attachments are endless for something like that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think. When you start using this, you'll find different attachments as we're going, and we'll be,
Of course,
looking to get things.
Yes.
To, oh, you need to get into this project, I need a skinny bucket, or I need.
And I mean, the amount of money that you will save with this machine, there's a lot of jobs that we can do now that we couldn't do before.
So you're pretty cheap to convert it, so
Don't
make it. What's his number, was that eight?
Without state con, I didn't have the state contract.
It's, you already looked at the price?
Yeah.
It's like 78.
Yeah, I thought it was
Is that with all the attachments
Yes,
you
sir.
wanted?
Yep, that's the 36-inch grading bucket, the thumb, and the digging bucket.
And
How much, do you know how much the mower attachment is?
Not off the top of my head, I'd have to look into it.
Right, maybe we'll cover about two.
one sec, the maintenance package, is that included or is that extra or?
If it's not included on,
No, I just.
It was in
Big.
it's extra, you would have to pay a little bit extra.
5,000.
I think it was like 3,000.
So if we went to 85, if we approve from UFB 85,000.
Yeah, that would cover it.
I was gonna make a motion to approve up to $90,000 for the new excavator, any maintenance package and or attachments subject to a form that's suitable with the superintendent of there.
I second. Discussion. Thanks for doing the research on this, I've been waiting for.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
All right, what do you want me to start? Thank you.
Thank you. You can tell about the village for half a word.
So hard to sell.
Not gonna do that.
You can have village, major parts of the license.
Oh,
Yes. That's funny shit. You gotta break
the shame and bother.
And that's right.
Have a thumb touch.
Yeah, it's for rides.
The bucket. All right, internal fund transfer policy. That's what we got here, whereas minor areas of revisions are at times required to be made to the village account by the village treasurer, which are not material, do not involve matters of policy or amendment of the village's current budget. Now therefore, it is resolved that the village treasurer is authorized to make changes to the books and records of the village with respect to minor adjustments to the village's receipts and expenditures less than $500 and which are not material in nature, and it is further resolved that any adjustment which would impact appropriation reserves or fund balances requires board approval, regardless of size. And it is lastly resolved that a summary of such corrections and or revisions shall be provided to the trustees at its monthly meeting by the treasurer, who shall be present to answer questions regarding the same, and a copy of which shall be maintained by the treasurer for the trustees or aldermen. Second. Discussion? Looks great. Eric?
Yeah, yes,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
it's our last Easter.
Yes. You're here.
Yeah.
Next, correspondence.
One thing I'm seeing is, this Aaron Morse Memorial Garden.
Yes.
And I don't have a whole lot of,
Well, there's an error.
so I don't know if it's,
Don't say anything like that.
Don't need-
Error on the date.
all right, thank you very much.
And I sent that out, posted it.
Right.
That was it. Approval of minutes.
We had September,
It's, you have the workshop in August 20th.
yeah, I'll, make a motion to approve the minutes from the August 20th meeting.
Everybody here?
I was. Yes.
Okay, Eric?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
We, we did.
Oh,
Okay. All right, and I'm gonna make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 3rd.
And
10th. September 10th, yes. September 10th, workshop meeting. And a second.
discussion. Eric?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
You. Abstract's been done. Mr. Village Attorney, words of wisdom.
Let's see, we approved a policy regarding committees.
Yeah.
And have those committees received letters, copy the policy or anything? I think it might be a good idea if the chairs of the committees met with maybe you and me, Gary, or maybe someone else, and put together a draft statement, a couple of sentences of what the duties of the committee are. And those could be submitted to the board of the next meeting before approval or amendment. But you have committees, we should know what they're supposed to do, and that's what our policy provides.
Yes, I have not had any committee meetings because I'm waiting for that direction from the board.
So I guess I'm okay with that, I have a question, like, typically, I have the responsibility for to tell the committee what they're responsible for.
That would be fine.
I got all this involved in that either. I would. You just have to maybe tell us what they're gonna do.
Technically, the committees answer to the mayor, so.
They can draft it and we can review it and make any changes based on what we think their scope.
Okay.
Is that sound fair?
So they make the recommendation.
And then we can adjust.
The dog park, you asked whether we could restrict residents, the dog park for residents only, and the answer is no for the park. If we had land that is not parkland, and we designated that to be a dog park, we could put that restriction And also what other dog parks have done is that you have to buy membership to the dog park, they have different costs for that membership between residents and non-residents. That is legit.
Can I ask a question about parks in general, which is, there's a lot of free space in the village. Is it all park?
The vast majority is parkland.
Very limited.
It is, I think, offhand what the village owns that is not parkland.
No,
There are some paper streets that are not immediately adjacent to parkland.
There's something like you declare a park, to make it a park.
Don't do.
It already has. We did a quick claim deed, we've got there's a list. Kind of hard to read, but it does.
Okay, that's all. Let's see.
And they, in the nineties, they did anything that was a paper street that was adjacent to parkland was also made parkland. So almost all the paper streets in the village are also parkland.
So I think it's something, except for those of that definition, Paper Street and company.
if land is declared to be parkland by resolution, by local law, or what we did with much of the land was we did a quick claim deed from the village back over to the village, specifically stating the following areas are parkland. That's one way. The other way is if land is treated as parkland, then it becomes parkland. And the number of years, I don't recall off the top of my head, but you know, you have an area where kids run around and they play and whatever for a couple of years, that becomes parkland automatically.
The property bought at the corner of the village, did we officially declare that parkland?
Yes.
Yeah,
We bought
There are advantages, disadvantages, right?
Officially.
Stops the future board from developing, but it also.
For land to become parkland.
Yes. Very good.
Awesome.
Yes.
And if it's a parkland, then all Americans can be there, whether they're villagers or not.
But we can say dogs, whatever they say, for such rights.
Yes.
That's what.
Awesome.
Okay.
Let's see,
Sorry.
I will be out of town from October 10th through October 17th or 18th. The Labyrinth Park. Who is responsible for having put together all the improvements there? Thank you. It's marvelous. The last thing is, Gary, you mentioned the $500, you know, that the expenditure would be under $500, therefore there didn't be approval or something. Do we have, if we have a $500 rule or de minimis rule?
We did pass it on a few years ago, I can't remember what the number is, either 500 or 1,000.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
didn't recognize it.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, Eric, anything?
Yeah. I've decided that I'm not resigning, but I'm not paying election. For shape. Technically speaking, I'm not actually on the ballot, let's screw that up, but I'm also, it's the same.
If selected.
If nominated, I will not run, if elected, I will not serve. So I think everybody's, let me work with me and everything, but, it's been a rough couple of years, and my priorities changed to other things. But one reason I hate saying this is it would really be good if we kind of spread the word, because it'd be good if we don't elect a dead dog to the village. So somebody needs to think about if they want to stay in a position and feel right about.
Thank you. Pat, that's.
No, yeah.
Nothing for me either. Trustees, public comment.
Just one more, we're gonna open up the bids for the roof at the end of the month. So what you know, 24th?
Yes, next week.
Next week. So hopefully we'll get the roof finished and this roof painted and next.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to enter executive session. Yeah, help us.
Don't move.
Thank you
Discussion.
very much.
Oh, he didn't, we didn't get that.
Second. Yes, thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good night. Yeah. Are you good?
All set. Oh, that's a cookie.
Thank you, everybody. Yes. Send you if I can on, they came on. But these pieces leave the maps and. Right. That's out. Come back to the next. Oh, yeah. Well, you know, I'm the second. Yeah.
Expectation, average reps, the board's.
Side board.